Hi everybody, it's Julia here, and today I thought I was going to take you into the studio and follow along while I doing this little painting. So this is a painting that I did a few weeks ago. It has been completed, finished, framed, and given to its new house or home. So I felt like I could share it with you. And I thought I was going to talk a bit about my process when doing these sort of quote-unquote real paintings, because it is a bit different from when you just sit down and sketch, for me anyway. And I do the same process here as I do when I paint my animals or anything like that. So what I do is I start at my sketchbook and I draw out the object, the design, the element that I want to paint. And for me that works really well because I don't feel as stressed as getting it perfect on the watercolor paper, because that is expensive paper. Once I'm happy with that, I usually ink it up with a micron pen or something similar, just to make it very, very easy to see on the light board. Then I take it to the light board and I lay my paper that I want to paint on, I lay that on top of it, and I just follow lines, and then I take a kneaded eraser to thin out the lines as much as possible. So that is the first, and then if I need to mask something, or if I want to mask something, I do that. If I feel like I want to stretch my paper or tape it down properly, I do that before the masking. But here I didn't think I was going to do that heavy wetting wet, and if I can, I prefer to have it on this board. It's a lot easier to paint or to see anyway. My neck doesn't hurt quite as bad, but if I'm going to do a lot of wetting wet, obviously I don't want it tilted like this, and I want to be able to move it quite a lot so I can control the flow of the paint. So yeah, so when that is, the masking needs to dry obviously, and after that I go and, if I haven't done it before, I do my color checking, and the only thing really is, I mean, I want to see that I get the right colors, and if there's a new color I want to be comfortable mixing it, and if it's an old color I just want to sort of refresh myself on sort of how much of each color I need to mix to get the certain color. And I also try to make sure that I use the same type of paper to swatch the colors as I'm going to do when I'm painting the big piece, because obviously different paper takes different colors differently. So I can swatch one blue color going to look completely different if it is on cotton paper or if it's on like cellulose paper. So I just want to make sure I get as accurate representation as I can. So yeah. When I do, then I go in and I start to paint, and I like to start with big spaces first. So in this case I start with the roof because every masking thing had not yet dried, because apparently I have no self-control. So that is how I do it. I start with the big pieces first, and especially it's the same when I do the sheeps or the pigs or the cows. Before I start with the colors that are going to be the main. I know some people paint differently, and I think it's really amazing to watch other people, how they apply color, or the whole process really, because I think we paint so differently. I am so self-taught, and I can really feel now when I've painting quite a lot that I am missing some of the fundamentals, and especially this sort of the routine, or the yeah, like the step-by-step sort of, I suppose, to be more to have more of a like strict routine of doing things. I am very happy to make up stuff as I go along. But yeah, that is the point of, I mean, the good thing about being self-taught is that the stuff that you do learn, you usually kind of keep like in yourself because you have made that up. On the other thing, you don't really have the structure or the routine, I suppose, that you can be taught. So yeah, I mean, it's good or bad. So here I've gone into the other. So I would say my style, quote unquote, I mean, or technique, I would say is a better word. In watercolor, there's a lot of different techniques, but I think I am a very sort of in the middle between wetting wet and drying wet and dry on dry. Um, I don't do either of them separately. I do all of them. With no, I think that is quite obviously where I have not been taught correctly, I suppose. I think I, I mean, I do what feels good or feels intuitive for me to do. If I had been taught or gone to school for it, maybe I would have painted differently than I do now. I would most certainly have. Um, but I mean, I can see I'm painting differently than I did just 6 months ago. So, okay, maybe a year. So anyway, while that is drying or is still wet, I'm going in with different elements of the painting. So that is also something that I have a hard time doing because, yeah, waiting for stuff to dry, it's not easy. So here we have, I'm going to add some foliage in front of the house, but apart from that, I'm not going to make a landscape painting or so. I'm not going to add a sky or a background. I really want it to be sort of like my cow or animal paintings where I just have the subject on the paper. And I'm going to do the same here. And what I really want to do is have the cabin sort of quite rendered and quite structured or like detailed, and then the garden I wanted that to be have a lot of loose, a wet and wet feel to it, and be a lot looser because that is not really the focus of the painting, but I think it would be a fun element to add in that wet and wet. So I was very loose with the colors there. Starting to add in some detail on the log. It's an old log home, this. Yeah, and I mean, here you can sort of tell I have the photo up there for a bit of reference, but obviously you can see here I don't really draw to scale at all. But yeah, I don't, yeah, no. Sometimes I do, I try a bit harder, but I don't paint and I don't get assignments for being precise when it comes to proportion, especially on houses. Um, so yeah, I was like, it's great. I'm going to paint it my way. So anyway, this is a really rubbish voiceover for a painting video, aren't it? The thing is, I've done voiceovers and videos for scrapbooking videos or crafting videos for a few years now. Um, and I've been painting for just as long, really, but I have not done voiceovers and explaining my process. It's it's not easy, yeah. And I find myself sort of tongue-tied on how to express myself, so I do excuse for that, or beg you to excuse me. Oh my gosh, the words won't come out. And you can see me here. Oh, good. So yeah, what I really wanted to show just sort of like my process of painting this, and then talk a bit about that for now anyway. This is how I tend to paint, or when I do a bit more I don't know how to say it, focus more on my work or do a bit more finished product or finished painting, I suppose. I've also done a lot more in my art journal and painting a lot more in the sketchbook, just because I felt like I was doing these kind of paintings a lot. Maybe not as much for others, but for me, and it doesn't really matter to me if I do it for others or for myself if I'm constantly trying to keep a very finished or serious work. I'm really happy with the pieces and I have sold quite a lot of them, which is really nice, but I felt like I really need to loosen up. So I'm trying to keep a balance of having these more serious work, but I'm trying to be more serious and put in more effort, and then more time also in a sketchbook or an art journal where I can be more loose and just play with color, because I feel like that is where I sort of I don't give myself time to actually play and see how the colors react with each other. Anyway, here is the finished painting. I do hope you liked the little process video I had to share with you. I'm sorry I'm a bit rambly, but yeah, so yeah. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and come back to check out more.